A minute not being truly authentic to yourself is, in a way, it's a minute of a small death. Why are we not really being who we are inside? There are ways that we can bring our truth forward.
It sounds like you have a very strong internal moral compass for who you are.
One of the first places I like to send people is in this area of being in service of others. Everything changes when you serve others, in whatever capacity that is for you.
Welcome to the Future Walk podcast. I'm Sarah Draper, and today I'm joined by AJ Jones. AJ is the founder of More, which is a science-backed program for high achievers experiencing what he calls numb success, which is when you've achieved everything you set out to do, but it no longer feels the way you thought it would. AJ has survived 2 widowmaker heart attacks, one in 2016 and another in 2024. And both times he walked away with this realization that you can be successful on the outside and still misaligned on the inside. Now, the Future Walk is about stepping out of autopilot to reconnect with what matters most. And AJ's story shows what happens when we stay on autopilot for too long, or what could happen, and why getting honest about misalignment cannot wait for a crisis. I'm excited to explore his journey, his work with More, his new book, which is powered by authenticity and comes out tomorrow, and what high achievers need to hear about alignment, radical honesty, and redefining success. AJ, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Sarah, it's great to be here. I'm super excited about this conversation and sharing some thoughts and ideas with you today.
That's wonderful to hear. So, well, thank you again for being here. I would love to hear it since it's just starting. It's coming out tomorrow. Your new book, Powered by Authenticity. Maybe we can start there, and you can share with us a bit about what this is about, and we'll get into your journey and experiences in life as it helps as we talk.
Yeah, thank you for that question and the opportunity to talk about my book. I'm a debut. It will be my debut book, a first-time author. Thank you so much. It's called Powered by Authenticity: What Nearly Dying Twice Taught Me About How to Really Live Before It's Too Late. And it comes out June 3rd. So yes, as we're recording this, we are about, I don't know, whatever it is, a few hours away from this book being live and available to be purchased. So the genesis of the book really hit me around May of 2024. I had just come out of my second widowmaker heart attack, which was April 13th of 2024. And I'd recently, just before that event, started my company More, which I think we'll get into a little bit later in this conversation. Absolutely. But anyway, so about 2.5 months after I started More, came home to an empty house after having been at the gym, and stepped in the shower and felt a very painful and unwelcome sensation in my chest, and very familiar, unfortunately for me, as this was not my first. And ultimately, once I got out of the hospital and came home, and I spent, quite honestly, Sarah, a fair amount of time in our garden on our patio. So this would have been late April, early May of 2024. And I would just watch the plants grow and try to get my arms around the fact that I'm now a 2-time widowmaker survivor. Wow. And as I dealt with a lot of doubt and criticism of myself, like, why me? Why again? What did I do wrong? I certainly took on, sadly, a bit of a victim mindset that I had to fight back and away from me. I had quite a pity party. I was glad to be here, but gosh, I was doing everything right since my first one. Why did this happen again? But in any event, the book, as I sat there and just tried to put this Humpty Dumpty back together again, I would think, God, what I need to share what I've learned. My first heart attack was in 2016. My second one, as I've said, is in 2024. A lot happened between the two. I've read a lot. I thought a lot. I contemplated so much. And one of the things I realized that in my mind, one of the truest sources of joy is when we honor our authentic truth.
Wow.
And if I could help people unearth what their authentic truth is and explain to them why this is important and how they can honor it being their authentic truth, they could experience joy in ways that I have by truly being incredibly honest with myself about who I am and what I care about, and not so worried about what others care about or what I think others care about, but what I truly, in a no BS environment, like my non-negotiables, like this is it. And so I started writing the book. Again, first time author, I would sit outside and facing a wall of hydrangea plants, if you must know, and with my laptop on my lap, and just started typing and typed and typed and typed. And anyway, so now I've got this, 14 chapter book coming out and explores why authenticity is important, and not only for you, but for your brain health, for your communities, for your resilience, for your compass that you need in life. And I introduce this notion of urgent authenticity. And it doesn't need hopefully not a whole lot of explaining to piece together what that means, but and again, shouldn't be any surprise coming from someone who survived 2 massive widowmaker heart attacks, where on each event, when I was on the operating table, I had a fully occluded left anterior descending artery both times. That I would want things to be urgent. And for you to my readers of the book, to read this and understand that a minute not being truly authentic to yourself is, in a way, it's a minute of a small death, and really painting that picture that now is the time and you can do it. And why are we not really being who we are inside? I mean, yes, we have responsibilities. Yes, we have obligations to meet. We all do. But there are ways that we can really bring our truth forward, our truth being our authentic truth that is unique to me, unique to you, unique unto anybody. And living it as urgently as you possibly can.
Wow. Thank you. That's a minute of not being authentic to yourself is a minute of small death. Right?
I mean, it's sort of harsh, right? And it might prompt a few listeners to roll their eyes, but in a reality, if you're not doing something that is true to you, that you love,
right?
Then what is it? And if it's not what you love, then it's something you don't love. And if you don't love, then it's taking away from you. And then, so in a way, it is a death, right? And when you introduced me, thank you very much for that kind intro. We are at my company we are infusing what we do with science. I have an amazing head of research on staff who's got a PhD of psychology with a heavy emphasis in neuroscience. She's Austrian. Her name is Dr. Birgit Rockbauer. And she and I wrote a paper last fall exploring the power of alignment to our purpose, to our overall physiological state. And the findings, and this we use secondary information. We didn't fund our own primary research, but looking at available information that's out there, and a lot of interesting stuff coming out of Japan, quite frankly, is that when you are aligned to your purpose, research shows that all-cause morbidity goes down. It's like demonstrated to have cardio protective benefits. So putting this all together, for me, it's like, why are we not doing things that are really true to us? Again, I get we have obligations. I get we have bills we have to pay. I get all that. But there's still ways you can make it happen. And so in any event, I could pratter on and on about it, but that is the genesis of the book, the why behind the book. And tomorrow we go live.
That's exciting. Well, do you share your authentic truth? If so, are you willing to share that with us?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think at the risk of trying to make this my own personal stage and a chance to share my life story, but when I think about my life as it's transpired since 2016, when I had my first heart attack, so much has changed, and I've made incredible changes to move me closer to what you just asked me. So let me set some context. I lived in the San Francisco area for many years. I'm a native Californian, even though now I live in coastal North Carolina. And I was in financial services. I zigzagged between wealth management and asset management, working with firms like Wells Fargo and BlackRock and Schwab. And that was what I did. I commuted 3 hours a day, round trip, to get in and out of the office. I was in reasonably pressured roles, depending on the day or how close we were to end of quarter or whatever it wasn't. But any event, visible and so on and so forth. But that's what I knew. I thought that's what one did. And after that, the first heart attack, I laid in bed, Sarah, and I'm not even exaggerating. When I got home and out of the hospital, and I was like really like putting it all together in my brain, like what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
What is going on here? I would lay in bed and stare at the ceiling. I was put on leave for 4 months from work. Super grateful for that.
Wow,
and those early days of recovery, I would stare at the ceiling and ask myself why I survived. I was mountain biking with 3 friends of mine up on the hills, the coastal hills of Northern California. And it hit me during a climb. I had a plaque rupture. And so I'm lucky. You don't walk out of a mountain biking ride with suffering a widowmaker and able to tell the tale. So what do I do with this incredibly precious second chance? And is it to go back to that old world, that 3-hour daily commute and that job in corporate America and financial services? I needed guidance, and I asked the universe day after day, please give me a sign. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do next? Our kids, we have 2 children and they were in middle school at the time. Do I become a stay-at-home dad? Do I resign from financial services and become a teacher, join the Peace Corps? Like, what is the deal here? What's the play? Yeah. I need the play. And the universe answered like a lightning bolt to my soul. I sort of affectionately call it my voice of God moment, where I heard in no uncertain terms that I needed to use my story to help and inspire others.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, wow, that is what I'm signing up for. I have no earthly idea what this means or who cares about my story and if it's going to help anybody, but I want to do that. It took me a while to figure out how to get there. But to answer is context to answering your question that you asked about my authenticity. I'm, as I said earlier, a native Californian. I had a very nice job and career in financial services. We lived in a nice area north of San Francisco over the Golden Gate Bridge in a place called Marin County.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Super pretty. Access to all sorts of resources, outdoor space, trail. I mean, just the abundance of trails to explore is like an embarrassment of riches up there. And when I realized after my second heart attack, right about the time I started writing this book, I needed to make massive changes to be true to myself. And I need to ultimately leave the world of financial service. I just left before the second heart attack. Oh. But that metamorphosis, that chrysalis hadn't fully finished yet. And ultimately I decided I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to leave the world of certainty and a steady paycheck and a bonus at the end of every year, and wander into the unknown, because I think that's who I am now. And it just kept compounding. Once I made that decision, and my wife was incredibly supportive, that, you know what, I'm going to keep going. And for me to live my life without the stress of living in Northern California without a nice income, we had to make changes. And that meant leaving the area, a place that I was born. Right. And we'd lived for so long and we'd raised our kids. It was time to do something very different. And that involved moving to a lower cost of living market with a slower pace of life. And that was true for me. And even though I had to surrender my identity working in big corporate America with big name firms, leave my identity of living in Marin County, leaving all our friends to do something that was truly important to me, which is to launch my business more and to get into the world that you and I are now in. It was worth the sacrifice. It was worth the sacrifice. And I used to, you talk about your freedom walks. Like I walk every morning. Before we'd made the decision to move, I would walk my usual 3.5 mile walk every morning. And I started to ask myself, AJ, what do you really need?
Mm-hmm.
What do you really need? Not what you'd like, not what you want, but what do you need? And when I did that for a few days, I got really honest with myself. And I realized, like, there's a lot of stuff here in my life I don't really need.
Yeah.
And I think I'm okay with letting go of a lot of it so I can go do what I need to do for me. Again, I'm very lucky. I have a supportive life partner. And so we've made that change. And I walked away from that professional life into a world that is entirely new to me, and figuring out as I go. So I think, that's one example is like, I'm walking the walk of what I talk about with people that come to our company more about. You just got to make the changes to honor your authentic truth. Otherwise, you can be fighting with yourself constantly.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's a fight that I don't want to have personally.
Right. Those days are over. Those are past for you. You've got that alignment. I mean, it sounds like you have, at least now, a very strong internal, like azimuth, moral compass or values-based, truth-based compass for who you are. Have you found, how did others, beyond your wife, how did others take to your changes? Did you find anyone who tried to convince you otherwise, or people largely supportive of you? Like those external pressures for many of us can almost be stronger, at least as strong as our internal one, when we're not well aligned, when we're not, working for our authentic truth. Did you have any of that experience yourself with what others thought having an influence?
It's interesting. It's a good question. And as I think back to that time, I would say from 2016 to 2024, as I pushed more and more into the world I'm in now, I'll be honest with you and with your listeners. Like after my first one in 2016, I did go back. I was working at Schwab at the time. I went back and realized after a few months that wasn't it. But and I needed to honor this calling that I had to help and inspire others. But on the way out the door, literally, I got a call from a buddy who has a wealth management firm, and he asked if I would be interested in joining him. And of course I said yes. And so I didn't really take the leap that at the time that I thought I needed to, or I was ready for. And there are reasons for that. Again, identity, the requirement to provide stability, is provide for my family and all that kind of stuff. But to get to your question and attempt to answer it, there were a few people who I would say weren't in the AJ's circle of trust people, who question like, wow, you really want to walk away from this, or how are you going to it was more like, how are you going to pay for this? How are you going to pay for college education? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And I'm like, I didn't really have answers at the time until, someone, I had met someone for coffee and we had a similar conversation, and she's like, well, you know what, AJ, everything is figure outable if you want to do it.
It is.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that to me. Thank you. That like the clouds parted when she said that. I'm like, yeah, I can figure this out. Yeah. But most people were supportive. I mean, what are you going to do? Tell depending on when the conversation was, a one-time or two-time heart attack survivor, don't do something that they believe in with the time they have left on this planet. Most people were supportive. And some, even when I had a massive crisis of faith, like, what am I doing? As I started to launch into this, like, it's not working. It's not at all how I had planned it to be. I think I want to go back, and almost pretty much to a person, people have said, don't. Mm-mm.
How have you noticed you've changed during your metamorphosis, your chrysalis? Yeah. What are some of the things you've noticed about yourself?
I'm happier.
Yeah.
I'm much more at ease.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having more fun in my life.
Yeah.
Um, I sleep better at night.
Mm-hmm.
I suffered on and off chronic insomnia for many years. That's not an issue really anymore. I eat better. So it's a really cool thing that happens when you start, and this came up in this research we did last year that I just mentioned, that this virtuous circle in life starts to happen. When you do something you love, you take care of yourself better, you eat better, you sleep better. And it's like a flywheel that starts going.
Yeah.
And I for sure have experienced that.
Yeah.
I think we all care to some extent what other people think, as much as we say, I don't care what other people think. I think we're all sort of guilty of it, but I've gotten much better about that. It's like, I'm doing my thing. I got one shot at this. I'm going to do it my way. When you're gone, and that's it. So I don't want any regrets, and I'm just going to go for it, and I'll figure it out because it's figure outable.
Awesome. Wow. So you said it's all figure outable. You said happier, more at ease, you have more fun, you sleep better, you make better choices. You've noticed these virtuous cycles, because you make these choices and then you notice the impact. So you do it again and you repeat these positive behaviors. I mean, I'm imagining a lot of people right now saying, sign me up. I want that. I want that for my life. So what are some of the, I know you have a process, right? You've got a number of different steps, including, there's a number of steps. What are you willing to or able to share with us in your framework or model that you use with more that can benefit a person even in like isolation, something they can do?
Yeah. So it's all actually on our website, bemorealigned.com. I put it out there, and there's 6, actually, coming back to the book, the methodology for more was born out of my book. So the book, again, is about driving towards your authentic truth and to how to bring it forward and how to honor it given your circumstances. As I was working on the book, I started to have moments of inspiration around what the future of Moore's methodology should look like. Mm-hmm. And it's really a 6-piece, I have 6 pillars to it. And the design is a bit more of a liberal arts approach than a very linear 12-step approach like AA. You work step 1, then you work step 2, then you work step 3. We've got 6 pillars. And we start at one place, and then as you go through what you need to go through, you're going to probably come back and need certain elements of those pillars. So let me explain. Yeah. The first pillar is establish self-compassion. Mm-hmm. Now, this is coming from someone who was in finance his whole career. Self-compassion, I was like, oh my God, this is so woo-woo. But the reality is it's so unbelievably freaking important to have the ability to give yourself some grace, some love, some patience. If you are a high achiever in a stressful role with lots of responsibilities, this is the thing you probably are least doing in your life, would be my guess. Mm-hmm. And it causes you, I think, a great amount of suffering, which you can't really identify because you're so busy achieving for so many other people. But self-compassion, it's like building a house. If you have a house on a crummy foundation, guess what's going to happen to that house when a big storm hits, right? I mean, sorry, apologies for the shameless, obvious metaphor here, but self-compassion to me is about building a solid foundation that can withstand, as you build your beautiful house on top of it, can withstand the storm, can withstand the hurricane, the tornado, whatever it is, if you'll allow me that metaphor a little bit longer. And so if you learn to give yourself that space, it's like a shock absorber. When difficult times happen for you. So that's the first step. Then we get into radical honesty. And this is something, it's not like, there's a book out there, Radical Candor, and it's about being really honest with your team members and your staff and everything like that. This is about, again, driving to who you are as a person. Like instead of like, I'm this is I want to do this. Like, okay, are you really being honest with yourself? Or are you just saying that to placate me, the coach, or your spouse, or what? Like, what do you really want? And we start with values in that discussion with radical honesty. But I think that's something that a lot of us need help with too, right? Because we make compromises to get the promotion. We get opportunities and we think we have to jump on them because, right? They don't come to everybody and I just got this opportunity. Well, what do you really want? Do you really want that? Is that what you want in your life? The added stress or the relocation or the this or the that? Like, what do you really want? Let's build around that. Because once we anchor on what you really want, things should get a lot easier. And then we get into embracing change, embracing impermanence. That's not easy for a lot of people. I don't think everybody wants to move across. I know you recently moved into the mountain states from the East Coast. It's not easy. But how can you use, like, unfortunately, people see change as fraught with risk, right? And fraught with unknown. And it's not often embraced as a growth window. And I think that when times are tough or the changes is certainly in motion and you cannot guarantee or predict what's happening next, that's where we can grow the most. And it's actually this incredible chance to grow. So learning how to reframe your mind around that instead of defaulting back into known patterns and familiar kind of plays, if you will, in your life. And then we get into inspiration work. Some people don't have ideas about what they want to do next, or they just need the spurs to the ribs to get going. So we do some work there. And then it's about redefining authentic success as the fifth pillar. And that is, fairly self-explanatory, but it's, for me, going back to my personal journey, my definition of authentic success it's a little whatever, but it's being here and being alive. And that's a big one. And then, making the most out of this life. But it's not the most money. It's the most impact. My ROI is return on impact for me. So it's redefining those goalposts that you're trying to kick the ball through. And then ultimately bringing it all together and using a Japanese framework called the Ikigai. Where what you do and what the world needs and what you're passionate about, or what you're good at rather, and what you can get paid to do, all line up in this 4-circle Venn diagram. And the center of that is your Ikigai. And that's kind of the holy grail for our work.
Thank you for explaining all that. I've got a number of notes on different pieces, because there's just so much profoundness to it. I mean, I think it's like simplicity in its design, but really like extraordinariness in its connection, kind of like Ikigai. And so, I would love to go back to maybe the first part, the self-compassion part, right? When you're not that way, when high achievers, like many of the folks listening to this, are those high achievers that are doing what's been trained or modeled or expected of them to do along the way, and taught in different ways, and following the path. And it's, from my own experience, it is hard to find self-compassion, because I came from environments where the servant orientation of leadership was so ingrained, it felt indulgent. Right. And so now sometimes I'll talk with people about how necessary as a foundational step it is to take care of yourself. But how do you help high achievers or others who have some type of misperception of what it is to take care of themselves? How do you help them get over that?
Well, I mean, this is oversimplification, but it's like, how do you treat a friend? And when you, I don't know about you, Sarah, but for me, in a given time window, whatever, a week, a month, it doesn't matter, but I get 10 compliments about my work. I'm like, okay, that's nice. And then I get one criticism. It
Oh,
is like
focus on that.
the world
Absolutely.
is torched. Like
I
it's
know.
ending.
I
I've
know.
ruined everything.
Yep.
This is literally me in the patterns that I've had to break. Like
Yes.
it's all I would obsess over it. I would go break into cold sweats. I wouldn't sleep. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I got criticized for this thing. They all think I'm awful. And I'd beat myself up. Like, you're an idiot. You should have planned
Yeah.
better. You should have
Right.
communicated better. You should have you should have proofread it better, whatever the issue was.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what I would say to a friend who showed up on my front door, who was just kind of falling apart? I'd be like, yeah, you should have sorted that out. You should have been on top of this better. Like, no.
No.
I'd invite that friend in. I'd sit him down.
Yeah.
I'd offer him a glass of water, maybe a box of tissues. Might put my arm around him, give him a hug, whatever, tell him they're great. Like, everybody has a bit of a rough patch, but it's never as bad as you think, and all this sort of stuff. And that's like as silly as simplistic as it sounds. But it's valuable.
Neither.
Like,
yeah, it's neither silly nor simplistic. Yeah.
Are you treating yourself like you would treat a friend who, needed some support?
Really needs some support. Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then on to the another thing I wrote down is the values person, right? You're driving who you are as a person. I was just having a conversation about values earlier, and so this is the theme for my day, I think. And so values, golly, what have you found? Do they shift? What happens when someone's building something and the values start to shift? How do you deal with those changes?
Yeah, they absolutely do change, and we should expect them to, right? Like, what were your values when you started your career, presumably in your early 20s, right, versus what are they today, wherever you are age-wise? They're going to shift. I think when you start out, it's about, well, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just being very generalistic, like, or generalizing rather. Like, it's about building credibility, earning money, establishing yourself, etc. And I think when you get older, it's maybe less that. It might be more about having fun or making an impact or some of these other things. And I think that that's totally natural. One of the workshops we do at More, it's called the Reset, and it's all about your values. And we compare the values in your head versus the values in your heart, and why could be different. And when they are different, what does this mean? And how to organize them. So that you have a good 5 to work with from both those sets of values. So yes, they do change. As you get older, your perspective shifts. Mortality comes into focus a bit more, and you start realizing, well, what's really important to me at this stage of my life versus when I was just trying to get going and get credible and, established and seen as, someone who does a great job at whatever my profession is.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And then the Ikigai, right? I talked about it not too long ago on this podcast as well, kind of like as one of many different life design philosophies or principles. But I did note at the very beginning of this, you talked that a lot of your research you're finding is coming out of Japan. So what do you think is happening, right? We've got this emerging research, you've got Ikigai and the concept of living your Ikigai. Do you get up every day and think, I'm going to live my Ikigai? Like, how do you apply that in your own life?
Well, I'd like to think I'm living my Ikigai every day right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I love. I think I'm doing what the world needs. I can get paid for it. I mean, these are critical elements of the Ikigai. And I think coming out of Japan, I think there were 2 studies we saw when we wrote this paper. But if you're familiar with the Blue Zones work, I mean, I think there's a lot that's sort of closely linked to the Blue Zones around
Okinawa and
exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. Yep, exactly, around community and taking care of others and doing something purposeful every day. And I think these are elements of that Ikigai that feed into it, I believe. I might be totally out of line here, but that's what I believe. And so I think that there's a lot to learn when you look at where centenarians are living in the blue zones in Okinawa. Like, why is this the case? What is unique? And those are some things that came out. I mean, having watched the Blue Zones documentary on docuseries on Netflix, and then sort of seeing what we were getting out of the research, like there's absolutely something to this. And I think in America, like in our system, in our society, right? Like what's rewarded? Like what is success? Success is, what are the markers? Money, house, vacations, status cars in the driveway, private school for your kids, whatever they are. I mean, I think those are not what's seen over is a marker of success in those communities where you are seeing that incredible longevity. Right. And so I think that's super, it's super important. And to be honest with you, Sarah, like, so I went to Birgit, I mentioned her before, head of research, and I said to her, this is last August, and I was like, Birgit, I don't know how to put my finger on this, but something's going on with me. And you and I just talked about this a few moments ago, like how have things been different for me? I eat better. I feel lighter. I sleep better. I'm in a better mood. Like things just feel better. Like, what is going on? Like you, Birgit, are the psychologist and the neuroscientist. Like, what is the deal? And so we did this research, and it's just like, this is why we do the work that we do, because as we bring the science into, I bring the rah inspiration, 2-time survivor, let's go, urgent authenticity. Why aren't you making these changes to live a better life? Birgit brings the science into it. And to know, when we did this research, and it proved out that like you are feeling better, because physiologically things are improving. Your neuroplasticity in your brain is evolving as you start teaching yourself new tricks, as it were. You can teach an old dog new tricks, right? Through the form of neuroplasticity. And I'm eating better. I'm sleeping better. So everything is just
making
better
choices. Yeah.
That's
great. I love that. Thank you. So with the, thinking about Ikigai and the component of, what you just shared, but also this, you make these better choices, right? So better for yourself, better for the people around you, better for the planet, better for all these things. And there's a sense of community that comes in with all of that as well. And I would love to hear the impact your changes have had on the people closest to you, right? I think there's a strong ripple effect we can have we do have on other people, whether it's positive or negative, right? Our energy, our decisions, our actions impact other people and extends out. So like your ripple effect, what have you seen in those around you?
Well, from a heart attack perspective, I know there are a fair amount of people who have observed my way of life now, how I eat, what I don't eat anymore. I gave up drinking and all this stuff. So I definitely have people who come back to me and be like, okay, I work out more. I don't eat red meat, and red meat includes beef, lamb, and pork. I've made, I've toned down drinking. You've inspired me to stop it on the alcohol front, or whatever it is. So I do see these behaviors change, and they attribute it to me, which I'm very flattered by. No one from my old community back in Marin County has pulled up stakes and moved someplace so that they can live their dream. Maybe staying there is their dream, but I know in the private conversations I've had with a fair number of people, it's not their dream to stay there and have the career they have, but they feel trapped by it. And I think, when I see someone, pull up their tent back there and go move, I'll hope that I had something to do with it, and they have made really good decisions for themselves. But, honestly, Sarah, like my whole thing is, I'm just going to live my life, and I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to put a book out there. I've got a podcast. I've got my business. I'm living in an entirely new place, which is really fun because my wife and I, we've gone from living in autopilot to we have a game console, if you will. And we've taken the switch and gone from autopilot to adventure mode. And
Fun.
it's super exhilarating, where everything is new and you're meeting people and checking out the new restaurants and understanding the traffic patterns or whatever it is. I really enjoy that. So I hope that those that listen to this or have known me in my past will be inspired and know, like, hey, it can be done and change can be good and it's not that scary. And you know it too, Sarah, right? Like, it can be done.
It can be done. So what is, to wrap up, what is one kind of, someone's listening right now who's going, okay, I can't move all the way across the country. I can't, but I want to do something. Like, I recognize myself in this. What's one thing that person can do? Go to your website, because you put all these out there. That's what I'm going to say. Go to your website. Put all this out there. I know you're looking deeper, or not deeper, but differently.
Right, exactly. Yeah, go to our website, bemorealigned.com. But I think the first thing, it depends where people are in their journey and how ready they are. I think there are a lot of people who are sitting there and go, I don't know what my purpose is. And I think that's an interesting place to start. And it's some heavy work and it's not always obvious, but one of the first places I like to send people is in this area of being in service of others, because I think everything changes when you serve others in whatever capacity that is for you. Even, I have this notion of this saying that I say, well, of course, everyone says this, make someone's day. But to me, it's like, what can I do today to just make someone's day? It doesn't have to be any big grand gesture. It could be, or it could just like sending a text to someone that I haven't been in touch with for 3 years and letting them know I'm thinking of him or her, or buying coffee for the person behind me in the coffee shop line, and just walking out without a thank you, without any engagement or stuff, just little things like that. Like, could it just start a ripple effect for others and see how that feels But that's just like for people who are looking for purpose. But if it's not going to be a wholesale pivot in your career, that's not feasible. I get it. You can still reframe your relationship with your career, and you can find ways to, do an energy audit. Here's a place that I'd start. Do an energy audit and get a piece of paper and put a line right down the middle and write down all the things that light you up, things you love, that bring you just an incredible amount of energy and purpose. And then write down all the things that just weigh you down and just are energy destroyers, innovators, as it were. See which of those you can eliminate. Maybe it's a meeting that you're on a board and you don't really need to be on that board anymore. Maybe it's you're involved with your HOA and you can get off that. Maybe it's whatever it is. I have no idea. Maybe take a step today and find one of those items that's just destroying your energy and your momentum for where you want to go, and eliminate it.
Great. Thank you so much. Energy audit, reframing relationship with your career, being in service of others, and like working towards that broader purpose, all wonderful ways to start. So thank you, AJ, so much for being here and sharing your story and your wisdom with us. Your work with helping others who are like you were, like I was, right? High achievers get honest about any misalignment before the crisis comes to them. It's important now. It's important always. But I think it really resonates because we hear more and more about people not even having the self-awareness to recognize some of the warning signals and burnout and all these other things happening. Your message is loud and clear that we don't need our own wake-up call to change our lives for the better, to help others. Again, going back to what you just finished with there, like doing your energy audit and being in service of others. So powerful. So thank you again, everyone who's listening. You can find AJ at bemorealigned.com. And just take some time, explore his website. It is full, or their website. He's got a whole amazing team. It's full of resources and things to help you to be that positive ripple effect out there in your life as well. And if you are finding value in this podcast, I ask that you follow it so you don't miss any future episodes. And I would love to hear from you specifically on this one. Please leave a comment about what you got out of this conversation with AJ, what resonated most with you. Remember, you can find him at bemorealigned.com. So this week, as you head out into your week this week, ask yourself, am I living on autopilot or am I living with intention? Right? Notice if things feel aligned or misaligned, and then get honest about what's no longer working for you. And head out on a future walk and you'll see what becomes clear. So thanks for joining us on the Future Walk podcast. And I hope you have a great week and enjoy your walk.